Straight ahead on IU NewsNet, education and women's rights were front and center on voters' minds locally on Election Day. We'll look at what fueled the turnout here in Monroe County.
And setting the clock back is causing setbacks for some students. We'll tell you how darkness can affect your mental health.
And one IU organization is using furry friends and fun to call attention to some heavy topics. They call it the culture of care, and we'll tell you their mission. IU NewsNet starts now.
Welcome to IU NewsNet. I'm Katherine Patterson.
And I'm Jessica Walter. Bloomington is known as a patch of blue in a very red state. Nationally, Democratic turnout made a huge difference in stopping what was predicted to be a midterm Republican sweep on Election Day. IU NewsNet's Lauren McLaughlin went to the polls to sample the mood and key issues.
No long lines, but plenty of issues on the minds of Monroe County voters on Election Day, both national and local. With the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade reversal earlier this year, women's reproductive rights was one of them.
It's kind of terrifying that rights are being stripped away from people who have uteruses. That's concerning.
Abortion law is now decided state by state, and in predominantly red state Indiana, the legislature passed a strict abortion ban in August.
That's been very discouraging. It will not affect me, but it affects my grown daughter. And I think that it is a shame that our legislators are not listening to all their citizens.
Incumbent Senator Todd Young, a pro-life politician, easily won re-election. Locally, voters considered a referendum for the Monroe County Community School Corporation to increase school funding and teacher salaries. Lauren Likens teaches in Brown County but lives and votes in Monroe County.
Having a son who's eventually going to go to these public schools, I would like them to be in the best position possible for my son's education.
The referendum did pass and will slightly increase property taxes. Lisa Kroll, a Monroe County teacher, spent part of Election Day outside the polls, answering questions about the referendum. It will increase salaries for teachers like her by $4,500.
We're hoping to retain more teachers by being able to have a competitive salary within the state.
$1.2 million of referendum money each year will go towards funding STEM, special education, and arts programs. For IU NewsNet, I'm Lauren McLaughlin.
And those very issues, such as abortion and the economy, drove voters nationally to the polls in big numbers. But the control of the House and Senate was not the Republican sweep many pollsters had predicted. As of today, control of the U.S. Senate is still too close to call. Pennsylvania flipped blue, but Georgia will advance to a runoff next month, which will most likely determine which party has Senate control. The House election results are leaning mainly Republican, with Democrats having lost 8 seats, and the GOP only needs 7 seats to declare control of the House. Elections tend to bring out all kinds of journalists, but who is covering City Hall the rest of the time? With local newspapers struggling for survival, the answer is not many. However, IU NewsNet's Molly Murphy reports one Bloomington resident has made it his job to know everything about our local government.
Dave Askins spends a lot of his time at City Hall. Since he's the only reporter for the B-Square Bulletin, it's up to him to cover everything that happens in city government.
I love to work as an independent of like an institutional presence, but it's just a lot of work. I mean, it's all the time.
That work includes posting daily to his website of over 1,500 articles. And when he's not doing that, he's meeting with city officials to get information for his reports.
A lot of people were getting a lot of stuff.
If you want to find out what's happening in Bloomington city government, you're not going to find it in the newspaper, and it won't be on TV.
You can only get this kind of information from the B-Square Bulletin online. Dave's work got the attention of IU journalism professor Mike Conway. Professor Conway subscribes to the B-Square Bulletin and invited Dave to speak to one of his classes.
I'm just happy that someone is there watching what's happening, because in this era with fewer local journalists, the worry is nobody's keeping an eye on the people that we elect to do what we think they should be doing.
As a Bloomington resident, Dave blends in with the crowd during city council meetings and even asks questions during public commentary time.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Dave Askins with the B-Square Bulletin. I'm not looking to write news reports that somehow undermine our life here in Bloomington as a community. I'm looking to make this a better place because I live here.
If you want to read Dave's articles, go to bsquarebulletin.com and stay up to date by joining his email list.
When we come back, after over 50 years on campus, the student newspaper has some new bragging rights. More on their national award.
Plus, changes may be coming to two of Bloomington's busiest streets, and not everyone likes the idea. We'll tell you what the city is considering and why.
Change may be coming to two of the busiest streets in Bloomington. IU NewsNet's Ashton Hackman joins us with a story of what the city is considering. Ashton?
Remember how the changes on 7th Street confused drivers when the city put in a bike lane? Well, imagine what will happen if two of the busiest one-way streets in Bloomington become two-way.
College Avenue and Walnut Street. They're some of the most heavily traveled streets in Bloomington, but a new study could see cars heading both ways down these roads. The Bloomington Board of Public Works approved a $170,000 contract with Tool Design Group, which has already made a recommendation for the corridor in 2018, recommending the change in flow of traffic. That recommendation was tossed out, but the new study could once again resolve that question. Satellite images from 1949 show that traffic back then was two-way, but by 1961, Walnut and College were both one-way streets.
Driving through Bloomington can be stressful with interchanging one- and two-way streets, but some Bloomington drivers say that changing College and Walnut into two-way streets could actually make navigating downtown easier.
I feel like it would be better and it would be easier for traffic flow, because if you accidentally make the wrong turn, you can easily correct yourself and go the same way.
But others have strong opinions on the possibility.
Why would they even change that? It would be, what do they perceive would happen with, how would it improve things is my question.
The study is not solely about two-way traffic in this area. Regardless of what recommendations are made in the end, the proposal must be finalized by the end of next year.
Now, I did reach out to the Bloomington Department of Planning and Transportation, and they did turn down an interview. In an email, Assistant Director for the department, Beth Rosenbarger, said the study is looking at all possible changes and that the issue of two-way streets is not the sole focus of the study.
So Ashton, do we have any chance of knowing the likelihood of if this is going to happen or not?
It's hard to tell. It is the same company from a few years ago, but there are other things that they are trying to address. Delivery on that street tends to be very hectic, so that could potentially be one of the changes.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Ashton. And you've probably noticed that since the time change last Sunday, both sun rises and sets earlier in the day. But mental health experts say rolling the clock back an hour can trigger seasonal depression tied to the amount of light. Less light in the fall and winter is often paired with social withdrawal, loss of interest in life, and feelings of hopelessness. It affects about 5% of American adults, and that includes staff and students right here on campus.
When it comes around September time, I start to feel more depressed, more sad, more lonely, more kind of isolated than I do the rest of the year, and I really blame that on the light, on the just the way that the seasons are.
Now, if you are suffering, there are actually light therapy devices available for under $25 at Amazon and other retailers. Counseling services are also available through the IU Student Health Center.
And what does a petting zoo have to do with sexual well-being? Well, many might say not much, but it was a way to grab student attention to educate them about resources here on campus. IU Culture of Care hits its 10th anniversary this week, and to celebrate, they brought in a few furry friends. Students got to spend time with goats, bunnies, cows, alpacas, and more. The Culture of Care team educates students about resources for what they call, quote, Hoosier to Hoosier care for mental health, sexual well-being, and drug and alcohol abuse.
Learning about different resources that are available on campus, like you can do it in a fun way. It doesn't always have to be like super serious, and it becomes something that makes students want to learn and makes them want to get involved and want to like know about the things that go on campus.
Culture of Care will host a free drug abuse awareness event tonight at Ballantine Hall from 6 to 8.
Now for a moment of props to our own Indiana Daily student. The campus newspaper just won several individual National College Awards and group awards. The group awards include Best College Media Outlet and Best Newspaper of the Year. Individually, there were some standout student journalist honors as well. Evan Gerke won the Best Sports Feature category from the Associated Collegiate Press, and the same piece won a Pinnacle Award.
It goes a long way to tell you like what this newsroom is about and how much effort everyone puts into everything we do to serve our community, and to see that rewarded is always a really good feeling.
You can find all the winning IDS articles at idsnews.com.
Have you ever heard of IU's Crimsonettes? Though you may not know the name, if you attend many IU sporting events, the dancers may look familiar. IU NewsNet's Lucinda Larnash shows us a small but mighty group of women.
The Crimsonette dance team, dancing anything from contemporary, jazz to hip-hop, their love for the art is a big motivation. But more so than anything, their sisterhood keeps them dedicated to show support for their school sports teams.
You know, I've danced with girls for 15 years of my life that I'm not as close with as I am with the girls that I met 2 years ago on this team. I truly have made lifelong friends in just the year and a half, 2 years that we've spent together.
While not being student athletes, their passion is to empower women through dance.
You know, just because we're not like on the sidelines of football games doesn't mean we're not like out and impacting other young women and other dancers in the community every day.
The Crimsonette's dance team performs all around IU's campus for sports like soccer, hockey and rugby. But one of the team's favourite places to perform in front of a big crowd is at Assembly Hall, where they perform for the women's basketball team. The dancers practice 5 hours a week and perform at least once every week, and it is worth every minute.
Meeting girls from all over this country and maybe from places besides the U.S., you know, brings a diverse outlook into my life and helps me grow as a performer even more to have those aspects within my life.
Even though not all of them may be dancing as much as they did in high school, the Crimsonettes check all the boxes for their time as dancers and students at IU. For IU NewsNet, I'm Lucinda Larnack.
Well, I'm so excited to be able to see those performances, and IU NewsNet Sports is coming up. And there are lots of questions about the state of football in Indiana. We'll have more on changes among Hoosiers and the Colts.
And IU basketball is certainly back. Highlights from the men's matchup and the women's season opener in IU NewsNet Sports. That's coming up next. Jack Edwards joins us now for IU NewsNet Sports. Welcome, Jack.
And it is certainly a busy season with winter sports starting. Jack, what are you looking forward to?
Well, we got about these 2-3 weeks where we got a pair of top 15 basketball programs getting underway. Football, for better or worse, still going. So it's a really busy time of the calendar year, and it's a great time to be here. Well, speaking of the 11th ranked Indiana women's basketball team, they had their season opener on Tuesday, and it certainly did not disappoint. IU NewsNet's Brianna Baylog has more on the win.
The Indiana women's basketball team defeated Vermont 86-49 in their season home opener.
You know, we had 12 threes tonight. It probably last year would have taken us maybe 3 or 4 games to get 12 threes. So, yeah, it's a really good start for us in terms of shooting the ball.
A young player that stood out for the Hoosiers was Yarden Garzone. She led the team with 19 points and scored the most points in a freshman debut since 2013.
You know, the first day she stepped on campus in August, we kind of really quickly realized how good she was, how great of a passer was, how effective she is from three-point, and how just great all-around player she is. She's not a typical freshman.
With 3 of their starting 5 gone, new faces needed to step up, and they did just that.
I think
think that what's going to be special about this team is that it's different than any team we've had so far. So you can't really compare it to our last year's team because it's a lot different than this year's team. We have a lot of different pieces, but I don't think different's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's exciting.
The Hoosiers had 11 players put points up on the board, and half of those coming from their bench. Over the last few seasons, Indiana hasn't seen much bench depth, but now they have new firepower.
We have great, more depth. To say that you're going to see more kids playing, I think would be pretty accurate. At least that's what our plan is. If they can all, continue to do what we ask them to do and what we need them to do.
Next up, the Hoosiers face UMass Lowell on Friday at 7 p.m. in Assembly Hall. For IU NewsNet, I'm Brianna Balog.
The other end of basketball in Bloomington also got their regular season underway this week. Indiana welcomed Ohio Valley Conference favorites Morehead State to town, and they showed out. 8 different Hoosiers scored over 5 points as IU routed the Eagles 88-53. Freshman Malik Renew continues to live up to the hype with a joint team-high 15-point effort to go along with 5 rebounds off the bench. Redshirt senior forward Race Thompson says that the depth of the team allows for a lot of rotation.
So when that second group comes in, there should be no drop-off. Malik's been playing great. JG's been playing great. Then Fino's running that second team. It just really feels like we got 10 stars out there, and we've seen it since we've been practicing in the summer, so it should be fun.
Indiana next hosts Bethune-Cookman at Assembly Hall tonight at 8:30 p.m. On to the men's soccer front. They travel to Maryland with a place in the Big Ten Tournament Championship game on the line. A quick-fire first-half double laid the foundation for a 2-1 victory for the Hoosiers. Samuel Sarver got the scoring started off of a feed from Ryan Wittenbrink before Joey Mayer scraped home a second before halftime. A second-half goal from the Terrapins wasn't enough, and Indiana got their revenge after Maryland won the Big Ten regular season at Bill Armstrong Stadium just 2 weeks ago. Indiana takes on Rutgers for a Big Ten tournament title on Sunday against Rutgers. Kick time is set for noon. Now it's another week and another loss for IU football. Things were already looking difficult for Indiana against a top 20 AP team in Penn State, and then came the quarterback issues. Connor Bazelak was not dressed due to injury, so Jack Tuttle got a chance, actually looking good for his drives, and then got taken out due to an injury of his own. That threw the whole game into chaos for IU, who opted to send in Brandon Sorsby, a true freshman, but he didn't last long before getting sacked multiple times on his first drive and throwing a pick. Dexter Williams finished out the game for Indiana, faced his own struggles as well as IU fell 45-14. And things only look tougher this week against Ohio State, where Bazelak will be back in the starting role. Now going up I-69, a former offensive lineman for the Indianapolis Colts has his first game this Sunday from the sidelines, but not as a player, as the head coach. Jeff Saturday was named interim coach after Colts management fired former head coach Frank Reich following the Patriots' loss and a dismal season. Jeff Saturday is coming from ESPN, where he's been an analyst on shows like Get Up and First Take. He has never coached above the high school level before, but hopes to bring his old team success during a season that's been full of disappointment. Saturday's first test comes on Sunday when the Colts take on the Las Vegas Raiders. And kind of in the spirit of getting jobs, not a ton of qualifications, I may apply for a job at ESPN after graduation, Jessica. I'm excited for that.
I think you would need a heck of a lot of luck for that.
Well, actually, speaking of luck, we have one more thing before we go.
Imagine putting $2 down on a Powerball ticket and winning $2 billion. That's right, billion with a B. One lucky person holds the ticket. The ticket was sold in Altadena near Los Angeles at Joe's Service Center. Joe, a Syrian immigrant, collected $1 million just for selling the ticket. This was a Powerball record. The odds of winning were 1 in 292 million. The winner has not come forward yet, but if they opt for the lump sum payout, they get $997 million before taxes.
So I can't even imagine having that much money ever. What would you do if you won that lottery?
I think I'd have to set myself up for life, my whole family up for life, buy some nice cars, the whole thing. That's it for IU NewsNet for now. I'm Jessica Walter.
And I'm Katherine Patterson. Now, we have a behind-the-scenes student production team in the control room and working in the studio for this broadcast. We thank them and we thank you for watching. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at IU NewsNet. Take care and we'll see you next week.